1. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, the decades of bloodshed that we saw happen in France, Cuba, and Cambodia post-conflict were precisely because of the bloodlust and killing frenzy that were literally caused by revolutionary justice and the soldiers and other people forming that militia who overthrew those governments. We principally believe two wrongs do not make a right, and the reason that these kinds of states tend to relapse into a power vacuum that happens in that transitionary period is precisely because of the skewed and angry lens of revolutionary justice that bend the arc of justice solely in their favor in an attempt to be able to rewrite history, claim that their side was correct, and try to be able to get a misconstrued sense of justice even if they're coming from a good place. A few things on our side of the House, responses will be integrated. Number one, this is a value judgment assessment motion of retributive justice. To be clear, on both sides we want justice, and on opposition, we rather have a procedural and institutional-based justice through a formal lens that happens with the establishment of three things. Number one, a clear chain of command and executive committee to be able to justify and explain what's necessarily happening through the formation of a head and a cabinet. Number two, the creation of formal, internationally recognized and domestic institutions that can literally create legal infrastructure. Things like bylaws, things like a constitution, and the formation of some sort of legislative body, a parliament, a cabinet, a congress, or a senate. And number three, most importantly, a just and fair judicial tribunal that actually consists of international and local representatives who are lawyers, who are justices, and not just random people on the street who are trying to be able to get the justice that they want because these people are not trained. On-side proposition, you degenerate into a mob rule and vigilantism because the new guard now become judge, jury, and the executioner. And take note the responses of the previous speaker to all of our points of information. Their side seems soft. They're saying, no, bro, we're not gonna execute people on the street. We're just gonna have the mob or the majority dictate what's happening. We think in these post-conflict states of which the conflict was already transcended, these are very messy. You have peak emotion and anger coming from these people, and what happens, as I suggested in my point of information, revolutionary justice becomes a very misconstrued, vengeful sense of retributive justice because these people want to be able to get revenge. Number two, we think that even if the legal and procedural justice on our side, when you have formal institutions, might take slower, might take longer, we are very much willing to be able to bite that trade-off. This is because this debate happens in the very critical power vacuum and transition that happens. Side proposition presupposes that all of these people are just, all of these people are right, all of these people are fair and empathetic. But because these people lost fathers, sons, and grandfathers in that conflict, and in many instances, these people are part of that army or are part of that splinter cell, militia, or group, they tend to look at this through a very vengeful perspective. That is to say, the very bad people and cronies who sure do exist in that regime still deserve justice. Hot take, but dictators and bad people still deserve a due process. Heads should not roll arbitrarily, and these people should not be put in this position of which they're likely to be shamed and in many cases likely to be given an unfair kind of trial. Number three, let's take their side at their best. Even if this thing is done fairly, meaning, okay, you're able to spot these cronies and these bad people, we think that these particular individuals tend to polarize and radicalize the narratives that happen. When heads roll for soldiers, rich oligarchs, and people who are in any way, shape, or form part of that old institution, it creates a false binary and false dichotomy of what's happening. The impact here is that you literally relapse into the pre-conflict society you just broke away from. This makes that effort to be able to win that conflict in vain and can significantly make things worse when you literally go back and throw back into the very system you tried to get away from. This is because the lens of revolutionary justice, even if coming from a good place, put at its core fear and anger as a primary motivation to be able to get the justice and the state that you want. I get it, right? Their side wants justice. Their side wants to hold these bad people accountable. But we think the point in which you make this very toxic, very adversarial, is likely just what I suggested in my point of information, to literally incite and justify violence. These people are rich. The soldiers you're trying to kill still have sleeper cells within that organization and are likely in hiding. On their side, the point in which you try to lynch them is the point in which you're likely to have to be forced to go inside communities and justify what you're doing in the name of collateral damage. On their side, people get harmed, and in the worst case, minorities, men, women, and children, and mind you, not everyone in the old guard or not everyone in the old establishment was a piece of shit. Some of these people were coerced, some of these people were framed and gaslighted, and in many cases, some of these people were forced to be soldiers in order to be able to feed their families with no alternative. Ladies and gentlemen, we think justice can exist on our side. It can exist better even if it might be a bit slow. And if we want to be successful in terms of transforming this post-revolutionary state into an actual, properly funded and properly recognized system that isn't a conflict zone, you need to be able to do these things well. You need to be able to do these things fairly. For all of these reasons, we are very proud to stand on side negative. Thank you.